Yeah, we extended an invitation for the Ministry of Finance, but they declined this year again. Well, we had them 2 times, I think, at the first edition, and then the second edition, everything changed afterwards, so they declined the invitation. Hopefully for next year they will be here and they will listen to you guys. But usually they see our newsletters, so they will get this message. All right, so next up is another panel discussion, which is not going to be so depressing than like the Czech Republic. It's about responsible gaming. Maybe it's depressing for some of you, but maybe it's more excitement for the others. So I would like to invite the next moderator on stage, Dan Iliovici, coming from Rombet.
Thank you, Zoltan. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first do a little bit of housekeeping. And I kindly invite Šimon Vincze and Panagiotis to join me at this interesting panel. Please take your seat, take your mics. Responsible gambling. Each time I receive a note from Zoltan regarding our panel, I'm wondering what will be about. And this time it's about consequences. So, responsible gambling, consequences. It's a very interesting topic. First, I would like to ask each of you to present yourself in a few words, just to accommodate the panel. Panagiotis.
Sure. I'm Panagiotis. I come from Kaizen Gaming.
Known as Betano.
Betano is the brand. Kaizen Gaming is the group. We have the Betano brand, as Dan said. We also have the Stichiman brand. For those of you who don't know, this means Batman in Greek. So this is the brand for Greece and Cyprus. Sounds like Superman, but it's Batman, Stichiman. And the Betano is the international brand in Europe and America. So I'm the head of cybersecurity and compliance. I also manage the responsible gaming program for the group. And we've done some pretty good things, I think, so we can discuss them.
Thank you very much. Šimon?
Yes, hello. Thanks for having me. My name is Šimon, or Šimon. I'm working for Casino Guru, and Casino Guru is the biggest database of online casinos. We are filling it up with database of bonuses, free games. Basically, we are a database of online casino gaming. And naturally, we are running an affiliate business on the top of it. What I'm doing at the company is that I'm taking care of our safer gambling and sustainable gambling initiatives. It includes various activities, but 2 main projects which I'm leading. The one is Casino Guru Academy. Casino Guru Academy focused on educating employers of online casinos with a free education and free knowledge. And the second one is the Global Self-Exclusion Initiative, which is basically a campaign for creating a global self-exclusion system.
Thank you. Panagiotis. I pronounce better Panagiotis.
You do great.
Yes, thank you. Regulators are putting in place more and more responsible gambling requirements. So, in your opinion, what are the consequences of these requirements for the players and for the operators?
Okay, I will start for the operators. I'm also a player, but I will start with the operators.
You should play for some time.
Yes, of course. So for the operators, first of all, there's an impact, an economical impact. You know, it needs development. You know, the requirements of the regulators, but at the end of the day, these are things that you know, we would do ourselves. You know, because for the big operators, for the international operators, we focus more on optimizing the product and less on, you know, making the most out of its players. So for us, you know, it's something we do ourselves. We want to prevent players from overdoing it. So, in principle, we are welcoming, regulatory requirements in gambling. Now, sometimes the problem is that the regulators do not base the requirements on data. So, to give you an example, and I will take the topic to casino again. In Germany, for example, there's a requirement for each spin to last 5 seconds. That may be a good an approach, let's say, but half the games cannot support it. So you need to you have to limit your offering, and then the players and jumping to the players would go to the black market for specific games that they see in advertisements. So of course there are other regulatory requirements that we welcome. For example, the most important is the common vulnerable people databases. This is a great initiative by the regulators. We are glad to comply. So every operator can benefit of this central registry and prevent vulnerable players from registering. This is a great measure. Or making mandatory the limits at the registration. So every customer can put limits, has to put limits. Otherwise, they cannot register. When they start, their journey in our product. These are great measures. But, sometimes, especially those measures that affect the program, the product, for example, the prevention of global jackpots. This, has an impact on the product. For us, this is a negative consequence because it leads people to the black market. But it's, let's say, 90% positive, 10% negative. Now, for the players, I think it is a very good thing that the regulators, impose these requirements. Because when they start playing, they think, nothing, there's no way I will overdo it. I will win. So it's very good that they have to put limits right up front and, have a safe gaming experience.
They feel more protected. The players feel more protected if they see that there are certain limits they can put together. But unfortunately, as you said, regulators sometimes and politicians, they are based on common sense and not on evidence-based, on data. Simon, you mentioned Casino Guru Academy. What is the feedback from the operators regarding this project of yours? Are they ready to allocate resources, I mean time and money, in order to go to this academy, or they are more looking at the revenue side and said, I don't care about your academy, I don't care about anything else, just I want to make more money from these customers? Please.
Well, I think it's not a question of resource, whether it is money or time, because what the main proposition of our academy is to provide high-level knowledge, which is made in a quite light and easily digestible form. We didn't want to create a big and robust structure of courses and 1 hour long videos where people have to listen to someone having a speech or like educating about something. So we made it as a combination of pictures, text, interactive features. We included videos as well, but mostly for the introduction of each part within each course. And we also included the exercises, which are made in a way that people are supposed to learn by exercise. It's not about testing their knowledge, but they are given a question which is not quite answered by the knowledge and the information prior to the question, and they will try to answer it and they will see whether they are right or wrong, but each time the right question or the right answer for it will be presented. And so it's not a big commitment to go through these courses, and they are free, so it will take around 1 hour to take in each course. And regarding the feedback, it was quite very positive. I think it is because we are providing knowledge which is not that easily found. I mean in a way that what we put in our courses, or what was the origin why we've decided to create it, it's coming from our experience with complaints. I I mean, besides of our databases, we are running a sophisticated complaints resolution center, and currently we are receiving about 500 complaints each month. Currently it has increased, and from this kind of experience, we can see those pressing points, and we can see those issues which are constantly repeating and which might be a bit difficult for the operators to see. So we are trying to reflect this knowledge into these courses and show how things can work in order for players be more satisfied with the product, doesn't feel like they have been mistreated, how the products can be structured in a more fair way, but still keep the business advantage and keep the revenue generation. I mean, for example, our latest course is focused on bonuses. It's providing a deeper insights on, I mean, how bonuses work, but basically we are looking into the terms and conditions, because these terms and conditions are being the source of most complaints. And we are showing how they can be structured in order to be more fair. We are also using a real-time experience, I mean, real-life experience from these complaints. And I mean, it was on my surprise, these operators are accepting it very positively. Even though you are showing them or telling them what to do, they are taking the approach, all right, I haven't thought about it that way. Maybe it would be better for us to reconsider it or to change the approach somehow.
Excellent. Panagiotis, you heard Simon. So you should be very happy to attend these courses, yes, in order to find out what customers want, what their complaints, what they expect from you. What are top-tier operators like Kaizen Gaming, how they view responsible gambling, how they view it as part of the business or more as a hurdle, another pain in the ass regarding the responsible gambling projects?
Well, yes, it's all about customer experience, you know, at the end of the day. It's definitely part of the business, not a hurdle. I think to the contrary of what many people believe, the employees of the operators, they really, you know, welcome responsible gaming initiatives because, you know, all of them, they want to work for a responsible company. And as I said before, at least, you know, for the global operators, it's all about the product. It's not about, you know, making the most of a customer or, you know, so everybody's focused on having a sustainable, safe product that is also a very good product that people like to use for entertainment, you know, and this is why, at the end of the day, we think that, you know, if we don't do our best in responsible gaming, that will just give a bad name to the industry. And for us, in Kaizen Gaming, the safe gaming, let's say, feedback from the customers is part of, you know, the surveys we do and the data we get to improve our product. So for us, it's at the core of our business, and we definitely welcome, you know, such initiatives like the Casino Guru one.
Thank you. Simon, I'm coming back to you. From the player's side, having this system of limits, of knowing your customer, everything interfere, as earlier was said here, with their need for privacy. They don't want to answer too many questions, they just want to play. Do you think that having some incentives from the operator side to players which are actively setting their limits, which are actively interacting with the RG, responsible gambling instruments, could be a good idea about involving them in being more responsible? Because responsibility lies not only at the operator side, but also on the player side.
Yes, definitely. I very much agree with what was said here in the morning about it is a critical point at the journey of a customer when you will implement some frictions as responsible gambling tools can be seen as, So for this reason, I think that the most crucial part about implementing these tools is the design of them. To design it in a way that it will have a positive impact for the player. There recently was a study conducted by the Responsible Gambling Council, and it was looking into the digital well-being and the connection of online gambling. The digital well-being is basically the positives and negatives for each people getting from any digital experiencing, whether it is social media or watching a movie at Netflix, whatever, the combination of positives and negatives. That's the digital well-being. And the study was looking into getting an online gambling into this measurement. So it could be perceived as something which is fulfilling the need of entertainment. And when people are engaging in these digital entertainment, on this digital environment, they want to have their needs to be satisfied. So what was illustrated over there is that it is very crucial that the design of such tools would be positive. So it will be positively fulfilling the needs of these customers, of these players. It was also divided into 3 categories. The one was competence, so the person is able to operate the tool and operate the measurement which is in this digital environment, so the person is able to control it. Then it was competence. It was saying about, I mean, this one was about that they understand why it is there and how it works and what benefits is there for them. And the last point was relatedness, I think, and it was in connection with what others are doing, having some kind of a feeling that others are using it too. And this leads me to the last point which I have about this, and I think that it could very much boost the effectiveness of such tools when operators put some kind of a gamification in it. For example, you will have your own profile when you register at the operator, and more RG tools you will set for, the more experience you will have. That you will increase your level, it will make you or allow you to change your avatar. So make it sort of a game, you know, people are there to have fun, and they don't want to read about the responsible gambling. They don't think that they should use them. They don't think that they should have a problem. So if you make it in a game, and along this gamification journey, you will educate them about it. You will make them competitive about what they are doing. You will let them be knowledgeable about what they are doing. I think it can have a very, very big effect.
Thank you. I recently reached about a study indicating that a positive message sent to the player regarding responsible gambling, as Simon said, it's much, much more effective than a negative one. If you say, for example, you lose your house for gambling irresponsibly, it will be less effective than telling something positive about this instrument. Panagiotis, I'm coming back to you again. Instruments put in place to ensure safer gambling. What are the last instruments, the most that's cutting edge instruments you are considering, and how do you can be sure that they are put at the right place at the right moment during the game?
That's a very good question. I will start with what where Shimon ended. You can have something in your site, you know, like a badge. So if it's a green badge, you know, everything is good. You will never show a red badge, but maybe, you know, an orange badge. That means, you know, you may have to take a look, or you may have to put some limits. But, you know, don't give the negative message. Just, you know, make the customer aware of, you know, of his situation. So one tool could be a self-awareness tool for the customer. The other tool, staying on the site again, would be what we call in the industry, you know, reality check tools. You know, let's say every 1 hour a message, you know, stopping the game saying you played 1 hour, you lost that much money, or you won that much money. That's again on the site. Then on the of course, you know, all those, you know, limit tools, you know, a loss limit, set a wagering limit, a time limit. In some jurisdictions, 3 I think in Europe, you are obligated to give this opportunity to the player to set a time limit. And I think in Cyprus, you can set, you know, the specific time intervals of the day where you can play, so evenings, for example. So aside of all those things, on the back end, on the operator environment, of course, you know, you have the AI tools. You have the traditional AI tools that indicate, you know, people who are, you know, who have taken a wrong path. And yet, then you have some more recent AI tools, like, you know, an AI tool that reads the chats on the messages from the players, and based on the words, it can tell you that this person has a 70% probability to reach a point of addiction, for example. And then, you know, you can do things about this. Then a latest trend that we also use is that we use what we call fraud management tools. These are tools we normally use for bonus abusers, or, you know, to identify duplicate accounts. And we set them to identify, you know, people registering from a machine of a vulnerable player. So if we have Panagiotis, who self-excluded for addiction, and then you see a new account created from the same computer like the one Panagiotis used, then we will get a flag saying that, you know, this computer was used by a vulnerable person. And, you know, you will go and check. You always, you know, have what we call business intelligence reports. You know, it's based on the behavior of the player. Let's say somebody who cancels withdrawals all the time. Okay, you can get a flag and you go look for him and see if, you know, he needs to put some limits. And these are the latest tools that, you know, we use.
Thank you. I have now a question for both of you, and I will kindly ask Simon first to answer. It's about consequences. How can one measure the consequences, the outcome of the responsible gambling tools and regulations? How do you think they could be measured in order to have evidence-based regulation, evidence-based responsible gambling measures? And then Panagiotis.
This is a tough one. I mean, I will get back to another study which was conducted recently, and it was comparing. It was conducted by the EGBA, European Gaming Betting Association. It was making an overview about the methodologies and measurements of problem gambling in the different states. And basically the conclusion was that it is very diverse. That if you say that there is a 3.5% of problem gamblers in one country and 1.5 problem gamblers in another country, you can compare these two digits because different methodologies and different measurements and different procedures were used in order to find it out. So unless we have this kind of research aligned at some position, we can hardly say with a really strong confidence that something has changed. So I think that the opportunity is here for the individual operators, and with their data sets and with their access to data, because as Panagiotis mentioned, I mean, you have a lot of opportunity what to do with the data. You can see how the triggers are changing. I mean, the behavior points and the triggers are appearing. So at this level, you can develop your own measurement, which could be much more aligned with the logical approach, and then you can say that some change has happened.
Before I give the mic to Panagiotis, I kindly ask the audience to write down questions, because I will spare 5 minutes in the end for your questions. So don't be shy. Just ask Panagiotis and Simon as many questions as you'd like. Panagiotis, please. How do you measure? How can one measure consequences and the impact of such responsible gambling tools? You mentioned the system for example, in Germany, the spin should take not less than 5 seconds. Why 5 and not 10? Why 10 and not 3? On what based on what was based this figure of 5. It's the same as mentioned about Sweden, I think, with the 11% or I don't know something. Why 11 and not 10?
That's a very good point, I think nobody actually did a measurement to decide on, the 5 seconds.
It's just common sense. It's
Yes. For example, in Greece it was 3, and now they decided to make it 2. So I don't think there's a study behind it. Okay, it is just common sense. I believe, and I read the same study as Shimon. It was a very good study. It is completely valid that there's no consistent way of measuring the consequence of let's say problematic gaming in the same way in every jurisdiction. But for me the easiest way is to survey users and giving them anonymity and ask the right questions. Of course, you see some countries where the university did some more sophisticated studies. Then another very good source is the associations of the operators in different countries. The associations launch very trustworthy surveys and that are usually based, on the rate of self-excluded players, the people who, start playing more time than before or spending more money. This type of data they use, and they do some very good reports. If you want my opinion, because of COVID, any study you will see for the last 2 or 3 years is not indicative of the actual problem, because many people stayed at home, they played a little bit more, so you cannot really compare.
It was a crisis. It was during
a crisis, yes, situation, and this is why we saw a lot of regulators enforcing specific responsible, like in Portugal, specific responsible gaming measures for the COVID, period. And then you have, the operators, they do studies for themselves, they compare, and these are maybe the best studies, because they compare apples with apples, oranges with oranges. So they have a specific way of measuring problematic gaming behavior. They do it every month or every quarter, and then they do it every year, and the data they give are very good.
Yes, thank you. Simon, I'm coming back to Casino Guru Academy. Education of players and operators about safer gambling, and I mean principles, responsible gambling tools, and so on. Do you see these as benefits for a sustainable industry on the long term? And how could we make it more appealing to operators in order to have to change the paradigm in which our industry is as evil as yes?
Actually, this is something which I am talking a lot right now, because our next course will be focused on responsible gambling, or safer gambling, how the term has shifted quite recently. And I'm thinking about this because with our presence and with our position on the market, these courses are being offered to very wide range of operators. And what we want to create in these courses is to show the value of having the responsible gambling as one of the high priorities for the strategy of doing business, and to show it that it can be taken into consideration as in line with business goals. So not in a way that the responsible gambling is going this way with just having the costs on it and hurdles, and business goals are going that way, to make it go into one stream altogether, because that's the whole point of sustainable business. And I think that it has echoed here today more than one time that no one wants problematic gamblers, no one wants addicted players. Even those Curaçao operators, they are still making more profit in the long run from players who are sustainable in a way of their spending. So I think there is a great potential in showing even these operators how these two things can go in line and create value for them, because they are not pushed from any kind of jurisdiction or from any kind of authority to implement something. So most of the things which would be done by them in this area will be a result of self-regulation, and the value for them could be that the rest of the world will be less repressive on them, because it will not be seen. Maybe they will be even able to change the reputation so that they will not be seen as the evil part of the market, but the ones that tries to operate within their limit, do not want to be limited by the regulation in different jurisdictions, but still want to take an extra step to protect these players, to make online gambling a sustainable way of entertainment.
Thank you. Panagiotis, you are acting with Kaizen Gaming, Betano, on different jurisdictions. You have tougher jurisdictions with more regulation, you have softer ones. Where is the balance, and what could be the best approach for the regulator in order to get the right balance between restrictions and the freedom to allow the operator to offer the best experience to the players?
That's a very big subject. I think
let's make it smaller but more concise.
Concise. I think the first thing the regulators need to do is to align. So it would be great if, at least in Europe, we have, common regulatory requirements, or, similar, let's say, regulatory requirements for the operators. That would be the best. Now, we have a lot of requirements, as I said before, that we fully agree and we would do ourselves if it was not a regulatory requirement. The thing that has negative consequences for us is the regulatory requirements on the product. So, for example, you have a jurisdiction, a country that says if you switch from casino to sportsbook, you have to wait 10 minutes. You cannot allow the player to play for 10 minutes, but the player can go to another operator and play for the 10 minutes, that elapse. Or, we discussed before the case with the minimum spin. One country, 5 seconds, the other 3 seconds. I think 3 seconds is the most common. So my opinion is that anything that is a restriction on the product has a negative consequence for the operator, because we have to coordinate a big number of casino providers and game providers to comply. And also for the player, because if you put product restrictions, the player would go to the black market. So for us, this is a big problem. It's a bigger problem if you consider smaller countries, because if you have a lot of regulatory requirements, responsible gaming requirements on the product, and you are a small country, a lot of the casino providers will just pull out the games. They will not go into the trouble.
The market is too slow in order to comply with.
Exactly, for smaller markets, and they will prefer not to take the cost to change the mechanics of the game, recertify it, do many things, especially if the game is not very popular. They will prefer to pull it out. So the product is hurt. The player will go to the black market. It's very easy. I think in Europe, you may have like 1 million, non-licensed providers, operators, operating. So it's very easy to find these games, and you just hear the product, you hear the player. The black market, the unlicensed operators, they have no responsible gaming tools at all, and you hear the operators as well.
Thank you. Simon?
I think it's even absurd when you are listening to regulators or whoever who will just say that the people, compared maybe with the UK, that is saying that the people will remain at their operators because they are loyal to them, they are big brands, even though they will significantly change their products in a way that they will increase the time of spins, or they will set the minimal limit for wagering for two euros or whatever. I think it's just not reflecting the reality. I mean, people are not stupid, and from the countries where the digital knowledge is quite high, like UK is, and where the knowledge about online gambling is quite high, and where people are reading in the newspaper that the operators are highlighting that the threat of black market will be increased if the regulation will be too tight, those people will understand it very easily. So once they will find that they are not satisfied with the offerings they will have in the legal market, it is so easy for them just to look elsewhere, and they didn't have to really use a VPN. I mean, they will just Google it and they will find
millions.
Yeah.
Coming, yes, as you mentioned, players. How can we, your company, help players to better understand how online gambling is working, what are the risks included, and how to prevent going to the problem gambling red line to pass by?
It's a very difficult thing to do. I mean, to be as an affiliate, we are basically a doorway for the players to get into the operators, whether they are players who are more experienced or less experienced. The goal of our website is to provide transparent information and let these people to make informative decisions. But in this process, to have them read something or to find out something about responsible gambling and safer gambling, it is so difficult, even to try to educate them about how online gambling works. It's so difficult. I mean, we are doing tests quite often and basically testing our websites. And what I hear from people from UK, where the online gambling knowledge should be so high, people are telling me that they are looking at the offerings and they are looking at new games added by the operators. And they are saying, I will go play the new games because they are having the higher RTP, because they are new, they want people to play them. They will give me more money right now. But it's just complete nonsense, right? There is just an RTP which is set up front, and you have a certification process, and the operator who is not doing any kind of fraud, it's kind of for sure that it will not be made in a different way. So for our website, we have a lot of educational articles which will tell you almost everything about problem gambling and how to avoid it. But they won't read it.
Yes, because it's more appealing to see a pretty woman standing at the front page and inviting you to play, instead of reading with very small fonts a lot of information. When I see such a web page with small fonts and a lot of reading, I just go by and I'm not reading anything. I'm wondering who's reading. I think even the guy who's writing these terms and conditions, so I'm thinking about making, you mentioned, I think, gamification, or you, Simon, about making such a small game, yes, a quiz game, in order for the player to understand at least the basics of terms and conditions, at least the very basics. 3-4 questions quiz. How can you withdraw money? And you have 3 possibilities. 1, 2, 3. Which one works for you? I think this could be an idea. Panagiotis, before I ask the audience to ask you questions, I kindly ask you to think about a question for Simon from your side. So, any questions from the audience, please? Don't be sad. It's the last 5 minutes and we will step down. No questions yet. Panagiotis, your question for Simon, and then Simon will ask you a question. So be nice.
I will ask a hard one. Actually, this is a job interview question. What is your biggest achievement, with respect to the biggest achievement of your responsible gaming program?
It's not so tough.
Yeah, it's I'm just
It is because when I get this question, I don't know what to choose. So it's a hard question.
Yeah, I mean, from my projects and basically from the Global Self-Exclusion Initiative, we are kind of far from achieving anything specific because the most crucial point is that there will probably never be any kind of authority which will enforce any kind of global system for self-exclusion. On the other hand, we were able to create a blue paper which is kind of describing how it can work in order to skip the level of regulators, but to build it all above it. But besides my project, I think the biggest safer gambling achievement, I think it can be referred as that, is by the work of my colleagues from our data team, which is what they are doing is that they are setting up the reputation rating for each online casinos. And what they are doing is they are scanning the terms and conditions, they are looking into the projected revenue, they are looking into the compliance resolution, and so on and so on. Basically what the rating is saying is how reliable the online casino is for you. And in order for these operators to get a higher rating, they need to change something. So what they've managed to do for the last 2 years, I believe, was they were able to convince more than 150 operators to change their approach in order to receive a higher rating. So basically what they are doing is they are street regulating in this matter. Because thanks to the position and thanks to the traffic and thanks to the consequences which the decreased rating would have on them, they are able to reconsider their approach, maybe to pull out from some predatory rules or some unfair procedures which they have against players. So I think this is the biggest achievement so far.
Excellent.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Simon, your question for Panagiotis. You will have 1 more minute at the end for the question from the audience. I insist. At least 1 question, please. So, Simon, your question for Panagiotis.
As an operator, I think that I would focus on what do you think is the best approach on monitoring the behavior of customers and taking action in order to be effective. And by effective, I mean that these people will not just drop off and go play somewhere else, but will take the message into consideration and possibly change their behavior somehow.
Okay, that has to be AI. The best way to monitor, I mean, especially if you want to do it for a massive amount of players, is AI. AI basically is smart statistics. So you give the system a lot of known problematic player cases, you feed it with them, then it monitors the rest of the players to find a similar behavior. You get an alert, you check some things, and you decide if this player is a problematic player or not. Then you need to know how you will approach the player. It's a big mistake to send a cold email saying, click here to take a test, or, please be aware that we impose the restrictions measures on you. Because, as we said, this person will be maybe offended, may go to another operator. So what you can do, and you can do it because there's not, in my opinion, the percentage of problematic players is around 1.5%. So you can have somebody calling this player a trained, responsible gaming ambassador, a frontliner, and in a very nice way, to ask politely, everything is okay with, the product, our services. Do you find yourself spending more time than you thought? Yeah, I do spend a little bit of more time than I thought I would. Okay, do you know that you can click there and, set a limit on the time you spend so you have some control? Or, have you lost a little bit more than what you thought? Yes, I have. You can put some limit, and limit how much you spend per week, per month, per year. Okay. So in a nice, polite way, in a caring way, you can call a customer and see if there is actually a problem. Maybe there is no problem. Maybe somebody, he's on vacation and he's playing more. And, advise this person how they can protect the way they play.
Thank you. Questions from the audience? Last chance. Yes, thank you.
As you mentioned, is there any, either in Czech Republic, sorry for my incompetence in this particular area, either in Czech Republic or in Europe, or essentially across the states, is there any register, the particular edition that is actually, as Panagiotis said, you can go from one bookie to another, so basically the entire behavior on the particular bookie is displayed in the
For me, this for me.
No, it's for both. Yes, if you can answer both.
At least, in the countries I have knowledge of, there is a registry like that in Portugal, in UK, in Germany. I think here in Czech Republic, I think there's a registry. Okay, I see. Jakub, he confirmed, so there is a registry. Where else? Yeah, these are the countries where you have a country registry. Holland, also Netherlands, you have a registry. It's a state, with the exception of UK, I think it's a state registry.
Simon?
Yes, I mean, you are referring to self-exclusion schemes, basically, as I understand it, and they are, the higher possible level of self-excluding is to be self-excluded, like you mentioned, for the specific country or for the specific license from each country. And one of the most popular or one of the most well-known schemes are from UK, with GameStop, Sweden, Spellpause, or there is Rufus in Denmark. Actually, there is another study conducted by the EGBA, which is kind of having, it's focused on reviewing all European states and is describing what type of self-exclusion they have accessed. They even are monitoring what is the possible way to get self-excluded, because, I mean, these details are crucial at some point. I mean, for example, with the comparison, we have in Slovakia the nationwide or license-wide self-exclusion scheme, but in order to get into one, you will have to have a formal paper, which will have to be signed by yourself with a verified signature, and then you will have to deliver it to the right office, and then after some period of day, you will be excluded for all online operators. And this is kind of a friction-full, if it's frictionless, then this is friction-full procedure compared with the procedure, for example, with GameStop, where you just register on a single website, and I think it's within 12 or 24 hours until you are self-excluded from all license operators within UK. But to your question, there is nothing which would be working in an international way. There is no transferring of data. There is no solution currently that will make possible there is no solution which would enable providers from different jurisdictions to find out that you have been self-excluded somewhere. It's just only within those single jurisdictions.
This is something to be settled maybe in the future. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Panagiotis. Thank you, Simon. It was a pleasure. Thank you for the audience for listening us, and have a great time in the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.